Hello and welcome back to this course, covering the exam topics for the JNCIS ENT certification. In this section of the course, we're reviewing Layer 2 switching and VLANs, where we're covering Layer 2 switching mechanisms and Ethernet switching configurations in Junos. In this lesson, we'll be covering the configuration and monitoring of VLANs in Junos. Now that we know the purpose of a VLAN is to segregate broadcast domains, and what the purpose of trunk and access port designations are, we'll review how to configure a new VLAN, assign a port as a member of the VLAN, and how to validate the port VLAN memberships. So let's jump right on in. As we learned before, the default device configuration on an EX series switch will associate all ports with the default VLAN. Initially, the VLAN ID of the default VLAN is 1. This is a configurable property using the setVLANs default VLAN ID configuration command shown. VLAN configuration is generally done in the Edit VLANs configuration hierarchy. In the first snippet, we see that this EX switch has two interfaces in the default VLAN, and that the VLAN ID of the default VLAN is 1. Then here, in configuration mode, we're updating the VLAN ID of the default VLAN to 100. In the last snip here, we see that this change took effect in the Show VLANs output. From the Edit VLAN configuration hierarchy, we can see how to configure an additional VLAN from the default. Simply specifying a name and VLAN ID is sufficient for the creation of a new VLAN. In the following slide, we'll see how to configure an access port to be a member of a VLAN. In the configuration snippet here, we have two interfaces, GE000 and GE001. We see that the interfaces are configured as access ports by the interface mode access command at the Ethernet switching family configuration in Unit 0 of the interface. The Ethernet switching family must be configured on an interface to allow it to be a switch port. Interfaces which do not have the Ethernet switching family configured may not be a member of a VLAN bridging table. An interface which is configured with the iNet family is often called a Layer 3 or routed interface. Even if a routed interface tags traffic using the same VLAN ID as another VLAN on the switch, it is not a member of the bridging table, and therefore in another broadcast domain. Below the interface mode access configuration, we have the interface VLAN membership configuration. Within the Ethernet switch family, the VLAN member may be configured. We see here that we have one interface assigned to the default VLAN and another interface assigned to the V950 VLAN. In the next slide, we'll see how we can verify that without searching through the configuration manually. Using the Show VLANs command, as we did earlier, we can validate which ports are members of which VLANs. Here, we can see that the GE000 interface is a member of the default VLAN, and GE001 is a member of the V950 VLAN. I appreciate you working through this lesson with me to configure and verify VLANs and memberships. I hope that this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.